The White House says Trump's tariffs on Canada and Mexico
To impose 25% tariffs on Canada.
Tariffs on Canada and Mexico.
Concerns of a massive trade war between the U.S. and two of its largest trade partners.
Putting 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico this Saturday.
So what's going to happen with business in our country when it comes to manufacturing and very large companies? Welcome to the Business Everyday channel. What's the big deal with this buzzword called tariff? If you've been following the 2025 economic and business discussions, one of the big buzzwords out there right now is tariff. What is a tariff? Today, we're actually going to take a deep dive in what a tariff is and where it came from. Let's go. First, let's understand what tariffs really are. Essentially, tariffs are taxes imposed by governments on imported goods. Now, tariffs serve multiple purposes. One of those purposes is revenue generation. Governments collect money from imported goods. Tariffs also protect domestic industries. By making imported goods more expensive, domestic products become more competitive. They also have a political strategy. Tariffs can be used to influence foreign policy and trade negotiations. However, while tariffs can protect local industries, they often lead to increased costs for businesses and consumers. To understand today's tariff policies, we need to first look back in history and see how tariffs have played a crucial role in the U.S. economic policies throughout the centuries. All right, let's go. In the 19th century, tariffs were a primary source of government revenue before the income tax was established in 1913. The Tariff of 1828, also known as the Tariff of Abominations, was controversial, leading to tensions between northern industrialists and southern agricultural states. Another big milestone for tariffs was in 1930 with the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. This was one of the most infamous tariffs in U.S. history, raising duties on over 20,000 imported goods. Many economists believe that this act worsened the Great Depression and even extended it by reducing international trade. Post-World War II, the U.S. shifted towards free trade, signing agreements like GATT, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, and later the WTO, World Trade Organization, to promote global commerce. In recent years, tariffs have been more of a political tool, with administrations using them to address trade deficits, intellectual property concerns, and global competitiveness. Those are just a few highlights of tariffs that have been used here in the US over the last century. In January 2025, the US administration introduced significant tariff changes under the American First Trade Policy. The key components of that include universal tariffs, a phased implementation starting at 2.5% on all US imports, targeted tariffs. Specific countries like Mexico, Canada, China, and the European Union face higher tariffs due to various trade grievances. Product-specific tariffs, increased duties on items such as semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, metals, and automobiles, including electric vehicles. These measures aim to bolster domestic manufacturing and address trade imbalances. Let's briefly examine how these tariffs will affect different sectors of business. The first people who will benefit are the domestic manufacturers. U.S. car manufacturers may benefit from reduced competition as imported vehicles become more expensive. However, increased costs for importing components could offset their gains. Foreign manufacturers may also benefit. Companies like Volkswagen, which rely heavily on U.S. sales, may face declining profits due to higher import costs. We'll see. In the technology space, specifically semiconductors and electronics, tariffs on components from countries like China could disrupt supply chains, leading to increased production costs and potential delays. We'll see how companies like Samsung and Apple navigate these new tariffs. Pharmaceutical companies will also be affected by tariffs. Higher tariffs on imported pharmaceuticals may lead to increased costs for healthcare providers. Construction and infrastructure businesses will be affected by the increased cost of raw materials. Tariffs on metals such as aluminum and copper can raise costs for infrastructure projects, potentially slowing down development. The examples I chose are not in any particular order, but we'll see how tariffs affect many different industries in 2025. If you're in a business or a sector of industry that will be affected by tariffs, there are a few different things that can be done in order to mitigate those effects long term, at least potentially. The first being diversifying the supply chains. Sourcing materials from multiple countries can reduce reliance on any single market and mitigate tariff risks. You can always negotiate with suppliers. Work with suppliers to share the burden of increased costs or find alternative solutions. There really is win-win solutions here in every business. Shifting manufacturing to domestic facilities can circumvent import tariffs and take advantage of potential government incentives. We'll see what those are. And there's always the advocacy route. Engage in or advocate for trade agreements that may offer exemptions to reduce tariffs for certain goods or your particular industry. Proactive planning and strategic adjustments are essential for businesses to remain competitive in an evolving landscape. And with new political administrations, who knows where the business sector will be in 2025? Understanding the impact of tariffs is vital for every business to navigating today's complex global economy. If you found this analysis at all helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the Business Everyday channel, and hit the notification bell for more in-depth business insights and business education. If you have any questions or even experiences with these new tariffs that have come in, share them in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in today to the Business Everyday channel, and we will catch you next time.